Hey guys, so I'm going to have you guys take a look at the video today that the other classes are going to do tomorrow in class, just because since with the half day I lose you guys tomorrow. I don't want you guys to be behind, so we're going to take a look at it a day early. I do have on the agenda the portfolio review, but we will take a look at that on Thursday. We'll take a couple of minutes at the beginning of class just to kind of refresh about the portfolio, because we're going to do our first portfolio with this chapter 4. Okay. So on Thursday, we will take a look at what the portfolio entails, just as a reminder of the things that you need for it. So then that way everything is set to go. But we're going to take a look today at the notes for section 4.1 because we are starting chapter 4 today. So 4.1 is all about radian and degree measure. We're starting our trigonometry chapter. And what trigonometry means is it's a Greek word that means measurement of triangles. Now, trigonometry was basically discovered as a way to help with measuring triangles and their different applications. Since then, it has evolved into more complex stuff. So you can use trigonometry in astronomy, in navigation, in sound, in a variety of different aspects. We're going to kind of start things simple right now, just kind of focusing on the triangles and their angles. Fundamentally, trigonometry deals with angles. Now, all angles are going to have a vertex, an initial side, and a terminal side. So if we look at our angle here like this point right here is our vertex. Okay. That's kind of the point between the two arms of your angles, if you remember from geometry. Then you have an initial side and a terminal side. And it's important to know which one is which, because the initial side is where our angle starts, and then it's going to open from there. Kind of like if you're thinking about opening a book cover, the initial side for our book would be the bulk of the book. The terminal side is the cover that's opening, because wherever that book cover opens to is where the terminal side would stop. Now, you can have your angles kind of look a variety of different ways. They don't have to necessarily be static like that one, where the initial side is on the bottom and then the terminal side opens up, because as we can see here with this new one that I've drawn, there's no bottom. They're both kind of pointing up. What's going to be important is the direction in which the angle is opening. So if our angle is opening that way, that makes this here our initial side, which would make this side over here our terminal side, because it's all about the direction in which it's opening. Okay. Now, we have some vocabulary that we want to talk about with our angles and the different trick stuff. All right, so our first term that we have is called standard position. Now, what that's going to mean is when the vertex of our angle is the origin, and the initial side is going to be the x-axis, the positive x-axis. Okay, so if we kind of think about it here, like let me draw a coordinate plane up here. So here we have our coordinate plane drawn. The vertex of our angle would be the origin there, and our initial side is going to be the positive x-axis like this. Now, with standard position, our terminal side can be anywhere, so we can have our terminal side be right there like that. That is an angle in standard position. A positive angle is going to be generated by a counterclockwise rotation. So what that means is that if we have our angle drawn in standard position, we're going to go counterclockwise like so to create our positive angle. A negative angle, however, is going to be a clockwise rotation when we're in standard form. So I can take that same red angle that I've drawn up there, but now for my negative angle, I'm going clockwise, which is represented by the green arrow. So that's showing the direction in which we've created it. Okay. Our next vocab term that we have is something that's called a coterminal angle. Now, what a coterminal angle is it's going to be two angles that have the same initial and terminal point side. Two angles that have the same initial and terminal side. So actually, the angle that we have drawn up there, represented by both the blue arrow and the green arrow, are coterminal angles because they're both starting at the same point, which is where our red arrow is on the x-axis. And they both go to our terminal side, which is where the other red arm is, okay? Then lastly, here we have our angle notation, and that's just the different ways that we can represent angles. So we can represent angles most commonly with this guy here, which is a Greek word, well, Greek letter called theta. Okay. I typically tend to use theta the most. You'll see it more often with me. You can also see this one here, which is kind of like you're trying to draw a fish, but you just don't connect the tail. This is a Greek letter called alpha. And then you also have this B with a long tail. That is the Greek letter called beta. Now, those are typically our most common distinctions for angles. So we can have different angles being represented by those various letters. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples here. So we want to sketch our angle first, then find a positive and negative coterminal angle to the angle that's given. Okay, so first let's just kind of take a look here at our coordinate plane again. Any angles that we have, when they're positive at least, are going to be between 0 and 90, 180, 270, and then back to 360. Now, sometimes you might have to go around multiple times. Sometimes it's somewhere in the middle for those. All right, so for angle number 1 here, we have a 36-degree angle. So we're just going to do a rough sketch. 36 we know is going to be somewhere in this quadrant here because we know that it's between 0 and 90. And it's less than halfway. So when we draw this, we're going to do our initial side on the x-axis every time. And then we're going to draw our angle so it's a little bit less than halfway. And then because it's positive, we want to draw our arrow going up that way. Okay. Now, to find our coterminal angles, what we're going to do is we're always going to add and subtract 360. So we're going to do 36 plus 360. That's going to give us our positive coterminal angle, which is 396 degrees. So that's one of our coterminal angles. And then we're going to do 36 minus 360 to get our negative coterminal angle, because you always want a positive and a negative coterminal angle. So 36 minus 360 is going to be a negative 324 degrees. And that's our angle. Okay. Remember, when you do a positive and negative coterminal angle, you want them to actually be positive and negative. Like if we look at it, our 396 is positive, that's our positive coterminal angle. Our negative 324 is negative, that's our negative coterminal angle. Okay. Next we have 180. Now thinking about it, 180 falls right over here. So we're just going to draw an angle that has an initial side on the positive x-axis, and our terminal side is going to be on the negative x-axis. And then we're going to open up in a counterclockwise direction because it is positive. Now we need to find our coterminal angles. So we're going to do 180 plus 360, 180 minus 360. So now 180 plus 360, that's going to go ahead and give us a 540. That's our positive coterminal angle. And 180 minus 360 is going to give us a negative 180 degrees. Okay. So that is our positive and negative coterminal angles for 180 degrees. Now if we look at this one here, it's bigger than, number 3 is bigger than 360, and it's negative. So first what we want to do is we want to draw our coordinate plane so that we can sketch. And I'm going to get that initial side all set up because we know that it's going to be there. Now let's find our coterminal angles first. Just get that out of the way. So for our coterminal angles, remember we're going to do 470 plus 360 and see what that gives us. Now that's going to give us a negative 470 plus 360. That gives us a negative 110. But wait, we added and we still got a negative angle. So this is still a negative coterminal angle. So what we can do now is we can add another 360 to that negative 110 to get our positive coterminal angle. And that's going to give us a 250. So that's our positive coterminal angle. And this is our negative coterminal angle. Now the key for graphing this is because the negative 470 is bigger than 360, we know that it's going to go around, oops, I'm going the wrong way. We know it's going to go around one whole time because it's got to go around 360 degrees. So now it's going to go around another 110. So if we look at it, we've now gone 90. So 110 is probably right around there. And then if we think about it as well, with our positive coterminal angle, we're just going this way with that 250 degrees. So we don't always have to add or subtract. Sometimes we can add multiple times to get both the positive and the negative coterminal angle. And sometimes we can subtract multiple times to get a positive and a negative coterminal angle. And that's what's actually going to happen with our next one. Because if I go ahead and draw this coordinate plane again, okay, 1,231 is way bigger than what our angle, than just 360. So let's take a look at this here, and we'll do our 1231 minus 360 and see what that gives us. So 1231 minus 360, that's going to go ahead and give us an 871. That's still bigger than 360. So we're going to do 871 minus 360, which that's going to go ahead and give us 511, which is still way bigger than 360. So we're going to go ahead and subtract it again, which is going to give us a 151. Now, finally, we have something that's between 0 and 360. So what that means, though, is because we've subtracted 360 3 times, we're going to have to go around once, twice, 3 whole times before we finish off our angle. So now our 150 is going to be roughly-ish there. So we're just going to go ahead and continue until we get to that terminal side there. So but now if we look at it though, this is a positive coterminal angle. This is a positive coterminal angle. This is still a positive coterminal angle. We still need our negative one. So we're just going to take that 151 and subtract 360 again until we get a negative angle, which is going to give us a negative 209. So you could pick any of those 3 positive coterminal angles to be your positive coterminal angle, but this is the first negative coterminal angle that we get, so we don't have to keep going, but you could, okay? So you guys aren't going to have to do any practice on this tonight. We'll do some practice in class together on Thursday to make sure that you guys are good with this, all right? So I hope you guys have a great day off, and I will see you on Thursday.